will be.
Hello and welcome to Midfall Speedball 2020. I have GhostSenpai here running Crash 3, so feel free to introduce yourself, GhostSenpai.
Hi. As also said, I'm GhostSenpai. This is Crash Bandicoot Warp. So I think that my brand had a donation incentive. So while I do the setup, can I know if the incentive was met or not?
It was not met, so you're playing without sound effects.
Okay, that's good because playing with sound effects is slow. So before I start my run, I need to do a quick setup here. So you were wondering, why I have decided to lose a life. Well, this is really simple. The reason behind this is because for some reason, not for some reason, the game. Sorry, I just have waken up like 10 minutes ago. So
Me too. Everyone here has just woken up. Everyone is tired. There's no such thing as being awake. I don't even drink any sort of thing with caffeine in it. We're all here in this together, GhostSenpai.
Okay, so it's gonna be better. So what I was trying to say is that once you die, since the cycles are global, every time that you die and you respawn, the cycles are getting reset. So I'm just gonna do this in order to reset the cycles, so I can start with Under Pressure, the second stage of the game, and I can beat it slightly faster, because I think that with the worst pattern, it loses like 5 to 6 seconds, so that's a good amount of time if we consider that. So since I have died right now, so what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna quit the game and I'm gonna start a new one really quick. So I'm gonna assume that the timer on screen is ready, so I'm gonna go for an RTA time. So 3,
Alrighty.
2, 1, go. This game is the time it when you get the control Crash, but since it's a marathon, that doesn't matter a lot. Okay, Crash, thank you for not pressing the second stage button. And well, if the incentive should be met, I should have deactivated sound effects here, but that's something I'm not gonna do. And I'm gonna explain the secret behind this. Well, if you deactivate the sound effects, I believe you don't get sound effects, but at the same time, some additional cutscenes are deactivated, because depending on your amount of crystals, sometimes when you access some stages, you're going to be having some cutscenes where Aku Aku, or Neocortex and their ollies are going to be talking to us. So for some reason, if we deactivate the sound effects, those cutscenes are not going to be played, so we can save a little amount of time. And thank you, game, for messing up with my inputs. I haven't practiced, I haven't practiced before starting this run, so this is gonna be really interesting. The last time I touched this game was like 3 days ago, so I'm pretty curious about how this run is gonna go. But it's fine. I have any kind of mistake time it correctly on my estimate, so that shouldn't be a problem. So Under Pressure, second stage of the game, as you have seen, is an underwater stage, and if you have some common sense or have played any video game that has some aquatic stages, you will understand. Okay, this is bad, wait a moment. Okay, you will understand the real nightmare these stages are, and unfortunately here I have lost a little amount of extra time. Because I made a little mistake, and that made me lose the first Aku mask, because there are 2 on this stage, as you have seen. No, this is not the stage that I should have entered. Okay, it's fine. No, I'm gonna quit it, because on this stage... Well, that's another signal that I just have woken up like 7 minutes ago, because after this, I need to go to the 3rd stage.
I will remind you if that helps.
Yeah, don't worry. So the order is 2, 3, 5, 1, 4. Hopefully I'm going to be remembering that on a little bit. So now, Orient Express, 3rd stage of the game, and also the first stage where we're going to be playing as Coco, which is Crash's little sister. She was introduced in Crash 2, but now in Crash 3 she started to be a playable character. So here we're going to be riding this little tiger called Pura. And every time that I jump, I'm gonna be saving a frame. And since this game runs at 30 FPS, you can do the math. you know, how many times you're gonna save. Probably it's not a big amount of time, but it's something. So that's the reason why I'm gonna be jumping every time that I can. And well, let's talk a little bit about the category. I'm gonna be doing that later on the next stage that I'm gonna be playing, which is stage number 5. And let's see if I can get the good skip, because sometimes I can mess up with my inputs. Looks like we're gonna be getting it, and there we go, cuddle skip. So what happened here is that I had made a jump at the end of the stage, just to try to clip on the roof. And what does that make? It's that if I do that jump and I keep jumping, I'm gonna make that Coco and put a get clipped on the roof. And that's gonna make that at the last section of the stage, there's an automatic jump. So with that, I'm gonna be forcing that both of them make a higher jump than the intended way. And we can reach directly the warping circle, and we can be taken out of stage really quick. And that saves 5 seconds. So I'm really happy that I have been practicing that, and sometimes I think that I have been recovering the consistency that I used to have some years ago with that. So I'm pretty happy that I'm gonna have got that. And now stage number 5. A pretty boring stage. Nothing interesting here to mention, because on this category you just need to get the crystal, and that's all I think you need to do. You don't break any boxes or something like that. So sometimes as a personal challenge I try to don't break any box on this stage, so we have a good amount of time to talk about the category. As you have seen on the screen, the category is called Any Person, No Item Glitch, which means that we need to go through the intended Any Person route. Later I'm going to be having some time to explain what does the item glitch is, but basically this category is just to get all 25 crystals on the intended way and defeat Cortex. That's the only thing that you need. And I haven't broken any box. Nice. That's pretty good. Moving on, it's time to play the first stage of the game, which is the first stage of the game, obviously. This is the first stage that we're going to be playing on this warp room, and here is where we're going to be starting to watch the main game technique, or the main movement technique for this game, which is called neutral slide jump. Basically this means that you need to perform a slide, and you need to release the D-pad or analog stick, whatever you're using to move Crash, and before the slide finishes you're gonna be pressing the jump button. With this you're gonna keep this light speed, which is the fastest way that Crash is gonna have to move. You're gonna keep that speed on the air while you jump, and with this it's gonna be the fastest way that we're gonna be moving. So if you're wondering why I'm sliding and then I'm jumping, that's what am I doing. Plus I'm playing this game with the D-pad, because for PS1 games usually the D-pad is better than the analog stick for speedrunning, because the movement with analog stick is slow. And if you don't believe on me that I'm legitimately using D-pad, well, here's my controller. No analog sticks on it.
I absolutely believe that, because again, the game I ran this marathon, the water controller runs on keyboard. It's a 3D game.
You need to have a lot of
dedication.
Yes. To play 3D games with a keyboard. Oh, moving back to the game, Boneyard, stage number 4, and also the last stage that we need to complete on this warp room. Well, we're only having some chasing sections here, not a big problem. And also, something that I was forgetting to mention on the last stage, and that probably you have noticed, are that, well, if you have seen Crash Bandicoot speedruns on the past, probably you have seen Crash Bandicoot 2 runs, you will associate the neutral slide spin when I talk about the NSJ, the neutral slide jump. And you probably have seen that on that game, you try to avoid to have 3 masks, because it nerfs the NSS, and at the same time, well, your movement turns so slow. But in this game, fortunately, that was changed. Naughty Dog noticed that mistake they made, so now if we are on the visibility pace, we go slightly faster. So the masks are really important to do that. Some stages have one mask or two. So depending on the amount of your masks, it's gonna be the route that you're gonna be taking to complete the game. So if for some reason I lose some masks, I have some backup stages. So hopefully I'm not gonna require to go and try to go for that route, but honestly I'm aware about how I am. So sometimes I don't feel so confident with myself. Mostly consider that I have to wake it up like 10 minutes before my run begins, so this is gonna be run first. You know, Tiny Tiger, first boss of the game, don't worry, we're not having any background music played here, this is normal. So here 5, 6, and 7 jumps, and then we need to spin, and that's all the thing that we need to do. There's a glitch that if I keep on this spot, the tigers are not gonna attack me, so I can be safe due to that. Something curious that I need to mention is that on the Japanese release, that was fixed, that thing with the music. So the music is gonna start to play once I access this stage. Because if you skip really quick the first cutscene of this stage, that's gonna make that the music doesn't get played. If I take some time to skip that cutscene, or if I die, the music is gonna start to play. But for some reason, that was fixed on the Japanese release. That was later released in the American counterpart. And every time that you defeat a boss, you're gonna be unlocking a new power-up. In this case, what I have unlocked is the Super Body Slam that just increases my Body Slam range. Now, the stage number 7, the 7th stage on the game, and the stage from this second warp room, it's a really important stage to complete when you have it's a stage that you need to complete with 2 masks, yes or yes. That's not like an option. So, if just in case that I have completed the last warp room without masks or just with 1 mask, I should have taken the stage 6 as the backup, because that's the only stage from this warp room that gives you 3 masks. So I'm really happy that I have completed this with 3 masks. Because also, as you have seen on those rails, well, the movement is slow, but if you have the masks, as you have seen, you can move really quick. On a little bit, the effect is gonna finish, so you can notice how slow the movement is. Well, now that's that moment when you can notice the difference with the speed. But don't worry, if you still believing that the masks are not important, let's just wait for the 4th warp room, because there's another stage where another thing that can be shown about why you need to keep the masks on this game. And also on that jumping pads, if I perform a spin, I'm not gonna jump. So that's really helpful, and that can help me really, well, a lot. I'm trying to keep my regular movement. So since I have said that stage number 6 is the which is gonna be the stage that is the backup stage from this zone, I'm gonna try to beat it at the very last. Because here the stages 7 and 9 are the ones where you're really required to use masks. And well, here I don't think that I have nothing to mention, so if the monster has something to say, yeah, this is gonna be a good moment for that.
Awesome. Really enjoying this run so far, honestly. But yeah, currently there's been no new donations, but please make sure to get your donations in by hitting !donate in the chat or going to speedrun.com/MFSB2020/donate. For those of you just tuning in, welcome to Mid-Fall Speedball 2020. If you are not aware, we're raising money in support of the White Bear Area Emergency Food Shelf, who has been a local supporter in the Minnesota area since 1977, battling food insecurity. A single dollar donated allows them to purchase $8 in healthy groceries for families struggling to make ends meet, so every little bit helps. If you can, please make sure to support by hitting donate, or you can even subscribe with Twitch Prime, subscribe to the channel, or give bits, because every single bit of revenue that we get during this marathon will be given to the White Bear Area Emergency Food Shelf. Every single dollar counts, every single little bit counts, so please make sure to get your donations in as soon as possible.
Probably, and you have noticed that I have died, but that's was interesting, that because that helped, that gave me some time to talk about something that makes the PS1 Crash Bandicoot speedrunning gets a bit interesting world. Not interesting at all, but it's something really curious about it. And also, thanks to the NSJ, I don't need to activate switches because, well, trying to skip the first switches where I died. And well, this last switch I don't need to activate it because I can reach more faraway spots with the NSJ. So what happened on the section where I have died? It's that the game decided to drop my jump input. The PS1 Crash Bandicoot games are really and very well known in speedrunning for being games that uses to drop a lot your inputs. This is not a problem with the console, or even if you play on an emulator, that's worse because emulators uses to drop your inputs, and this game drops your inputs also. Because there are some frames where the game is not gonna recognize your inputs. Because that was the way that the game was developed, for some reason. I don't know exactly why, but that's the nature from the original trilogy. So you need to learn to deal with that. Unfortunately, I got a dropped input on the worst situation because that doesn't allow me to use the invincibility pace on that stage, making me lose a little amount of time. But don't worry, I have all of those things considered on my estimate. Well, Magnet Run, second stage with Coco and Pura, and also last stage with Pura, so it's time to say goodbye to this little tiger. And this was the animation that we have skipped on an Express. So it's time to move to G-Wiz, stage number 6 of the game. Which I have said that was the backup stage, because it has 3 masks. So here again we're gonna be paying attention to the NSJ again in all its glory. Sometimes what I'm gonna be doing with this is that I'm gonna be doing some zigzagging, which is basically meshing up left, up right, and vice versa, in order to try to move slightly faster. Because if you mix correctly the zigzagging with the NSJ, you're gonna be getting the CC or double C NSJ, or zigzag neutral slide jump, which makes you going slightly faster. That's another important thing to have in mind when you run the Crash Bandicoot games, because zigzagging really helps you to move slightly faster. Mostly in the first game, zigzagging is very important because the slide was included was added to the franchise in the second game. Even if you play Instant Trilogy, which are the remakes from the original PS1 trilogy, the first game doesn't have as a slide.
Yeah, so GhostSenpai, do you mind if I ask you a bit of a question about Crash 3 in general?
I guess.
I was just wondering if you had any recommendations for people looking to run the Crash Bandicoot trilogy on the original trilogy on PS1, or if you have any recommendations or tips for beginners.
Well, it depends on a lot of things about where do you want to start or which game you want to give it a try first. I will say that for the original trilogy, if you want to pick a game, I will apply the general rule from speedrunning, which is pick the game that you really like to play a lot, that you don't get tired to play, and a game that you really enjoy every time that you're gonna be playing it, or well, in this case, run it. But you need to have in mind that there are gonna be some points of your life where you're gonna really hate a game that you love a lot, so this is mostly like a love-hate situation, so you need to be really careful.
Always is. It
with
always
the game you're gonna
is
be
speedrunning. It is the contract you sign when you speedrun something. You're like, I love this game. You're going to learn to hate it at some point.
And fun fact, from the original trilogy, this is my last favorite game. I don't like so much Crash 3. But the reason why I played this is that for some reason I'm slightly better on this game than on the other two. I still learning Crash 1, but I haven't started to play it because for now I'm just playing on an emulator. The first game is the most expensive one, so I'm gonna wait for the moment where I can buy the game. I mean, it's the most highest price that I have found in my country, like $60. And well, I'm trying to look for a more cheapest copy of that game, but that's gonna be a story for another day. For now, we have completed a motorbike stage, which is called Wild. The way that you get the crystal, you have seen is that you need to finish on first place, and sometimes you're gonna find some warping pets, where it can help to you go going slightly faster. You're gonna be on one wheel, so you need to time correctly, or well, you need to know on which spot you need to keep moving in order to don't lose that advantage with the speed, which I was glad to get. And here I'm saving an entire minute with what am I doing, which is another glitch of the game, the high jump glitch, which basically consists in performing a slide, and when the slide finishes, I'm gonna press the jump and then spin button, which is I'm gonna be making some higher jumps. And what happened here, that I'm gonna be explaining a little bit, is that well, what happened during this stage is that it's supposed that Dingodile is gonna throw some fireballs to the section where Crash is, and after some seconds he's going to destroy the wall that is protecting him. But doing that, we can avoid all of this and save 1 minute. Now, Doubleheader, an important stage on Crash 3 because sometimes the game decided it can make that your game crashes. That's something that I see mostly on 105, which is the full completion of the game. And also, it's not like something common, but sometimes it can happen. Fortunately, that hasn't happened to me before, and even a former world record got a little freeze here. So it's really, that was something interesting. The reason behind that is because the console needs to load a lot of things, so sometimes the console can mess it up, some stuff, and well, simply the game's not gonna load properly, it's gonna crash, or it's gonna take some time before you can start to move. And also, the reason why this stage is called Doubleheader is due to these big enemies, two heads. And this is something curious to mention because on the Japanese release of the game, those enemies were modified and just have one head. And the reason behind that was that Sony of Japan was thinking that for Japanese public, having an enemy with two heads was gonna be something cool. I have received some damage here and I have lost a mask, so that means that I need to take the backup route, which is gonna be go to the stage 12, which is an on-water stage. But I'm gonna be going for the stage 13 because I need to recognize that I'm not good on this stage with invisibility pace. So we need to deal with all of these things, and I'm gonna be having some time to keep talking about which game do you need to. You should pick when you want to run a Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, when you're
game.
interested in running. Sorry.
yeah, don't worry. I just gonna say that probably was my reply for that question wasn't on a good moment because I got distracted. It's fine. I got distracted on the way that I forgot that there was some stuff that I was gonna say during the run. And here, if I press the jumping button, I'm gonna be out of this rail. So what I have done clicks that genie that on a specific spot I need to press the jumping button just to step on it, and with that I can save like a half of a second. So getting back to the topic, if you're gonna be running this game on an emulator, that's entirely fine. You just need to check which emulators are the loaded ones. Just have in mind that thing that if the game naturally drops your inputs, an emulator, it's gonna be something more common. It's not like that it's gonna happen to you every 5 seconds or something like that, but on clicks that genie that on a specific spot I need to press the jumping button just to step on it, and with that I can save like a half of a second. So getting back to the topic, if you're gonna be running this game on an emulator, that's entirely fine. You just need to check which emulators are the loaded ones. Just have in mind that thing that if the game naturally drops your inputs, an emulator, it's gonna be something more common. It's not like that it's gonna happen to you every 5 seconds or something like that, but you just need to have that in mind. Because also, the Crash Bandicoot franchise is really weird because literally you need to have a specific console for each version of the game. And also you need to have whole versions of the game to run it, because for example for Crash 1, talking about main categories, for any percent the good version is the American release, and then for 100% you're required to play the Japanese version. For Crash Bandicoot 2, it's one of the few and weird situations where the European/PAL version is the optimal, but I think that for for the glitch at any person category, the American version is better. Which stage? Okay. I forgot for a moment which stage I needed to move. So that's normal. And well, for Crash 3, the optimal version is the American release. It could have been a possibility that also the PAL version should have been the best for Crash 3, like with Crash 2. The reason why you need to avoid the PAL version is because well, there's a different setup than the NSJ to move faster on the PAL version. Plus, some elements were changed, turning the game into, well, turning the PAL version into a harder release. So that's why we use the American release of the game. And also, the best way to play this is to get a PS2 Slim console, because the PS2 consoles had a fast reading mode, the fastest speed mode for PS1 games that make the disc spin faster, so you can reduce some RTA timing with loading times, and also that can affect you with the PB that you're gonna get. I think that in a summary, this saves like 2 minutes comparing with the standard PS1 loads. Or you can run the game on a PSP, that's gonna be better, because each loading time is like 0.5 seconds, slightly faster on the PSP for Crash 1 and 3, and also for Crash 2. But since you can, another good way to play Crash 2 it's through the PSTV, which is a kind of PS Vita to use in a TV, but more limited. And just the PAL release, because just the PAL Crash Bandicoot games are playable on the PS Vita. You cannot download the American releases. But well, also on the PS Vita, with a PS3 controller, you just drop some extra inputs. Plus, some people complain about the input delay, but that's something that's not a problem for me. So that's why I run Crash 2. And fun fact, I started to run Crash 2 first, and suppose that was going to be one of my main speed games. But then I see that for some reason I'm slightly better on Crash 3, and I said, okay, I'm skipping this. Definitely on both Crash 1 and 3, any person categories are good, but on Crash 2 you should go for 100%. I run the any person category and no game over reviews, which is pretty boring. But there's gonna be one day when I'm gonna be learning 100%, and I don't know, maybe in a future Midwest event I'm gonna be back with Crash 2 100%. But that's something
I'd love to see that, honestly.
And that's something that Destiny at the time will define, but for now, we just need to go through Road Crash, stage 14, which is the most annoying from these motorbike stages. There are 3 in total for this category, and obviously while we keep going through the stages, the game's gonna, each stage is gonna take more time to get completed. But the problem with Road Crash is that there's a lot of curves, as you can see. There are a lot of obstacles, and trying to move optimally, it's kinda complicated. So that's the reason why this stage is really annoying. Well, on Insane Trilogy, I just run Crash 2. I don't run Crash 3, so that's good. That's something good, because some Crash 3 runners from the PS1 release like it to run Crash 2 on Insane Trilogy, and vice versa. Crash 2 runners on the PS1 decided to run Crash 3 on Insane Trilogy. Well, first place, not a big problem. It's time now to face Trophy, or Nephari's Trophy, which is the evil guy who developed the time machine that we're using. Or no, I was lying. I forget that I haven't completed stage 12, but it's fine, it's fine. This is the real backup stage of the game, which is another underwater stage. Here, well, it's again another slow stage with nothing interesting to mention. Because in the 105% category of the game, there's an alternative ending here. So once I reach the end of the stage, there's an item box that I need to trigger, and with that I can go back and take an alternative route to get additional boxes to get the free gem that the game gives you once you get all the boxes. Well, instead of that, the question mark box, I should have got an icon mask in case that you just have one or no masks. So that's why this stage is considered as a backup one, because you cannot get the invincibility pace in underwater sections. You know, it's a good time to talk about the history of the game. So this game starts right when you complete Crush through the 100%, and once you destroy the Cortex Vortex, one of its parts fall into the earth and makes that depression where Uka Uka, the evil twin from Aku Aku, gets destroyed, and now Uka Uka is free. And then Uka Uka met Cortex, and obviously he's mad with Cortex because Cortex failed twice into dominating the world after Uka Uka gave him some instructions, but since now he's not anymore on his prison, he feels a bit pleased about that. So he's gonna give us another chance while we're using the Nefarious Trophy machine. Well, the plan for them is that they're gonna be using the Nefarious Trophy machine to travel around the world in time to get the crystals, gems, and relics, and use their power to dominate the world. And now Nefarious Trophy is similar glitch to, well, similar audio glitch like with Tiny Tiger, but the music is gonna start to play on a little bit. On the Japanese release, this glitch is also present, so that's something curious to mention at the same time. And obviously, getting back to the topic of this, you have seen, Nefarious Trophy is gonna shoot some steam balls, 1, 2, and 3 on each base, and then he's gonna shoot some laser beams that we just need to avoid, and that's all the things that we need to do before we can. Well, the game gives us the possibility of reaching the Nefarious Trophy, and we can perform a spin in order to make him some damage. And continuing with the story, obviously we don't need to let that Vortex Ender Alice get all this stuff first, so we just need to use the End Trophy Time Machine to get all of the things and avoid that the evil guys get them. And it's about that during the cutscenes that we have deactivated sometimes, well, not sometimes, the bosses are gonna tell to us that we need to give them the crystal because Cortex asked it for them to quit to get the crystal that we have achieved right now, that we have got. But obviously, we're not gonna be able to do that. Even if you wanna try to do that, there's no way to do it, so whatever. If you were wondering how important the masks are, well, Tomb Raider stage number 20, probably the most important stage for the masks in all the game, because you need to put so much attention on this section where the water rises up and down, because the invincibility just doesn't make you invincible. At the same time, some cycles are freezed. Well, the cycles keep running on the background, but that doesn't affect nothing on the game. So we're gonna be using the invincibility frames to freeze the times where the water is gonna rise up, and with that we can move slightly faster. You're gonna be watching that in a little bit. So I break this box, which is the only mask from this stage, and you will notice that the water is not gonna rise up. Plus, in some of these stages, there are some sections where the walls get closed after some seconds. Also, that cycles get freeze for a little bit. The cycles keep running in the background, so you need to be pretty. Well, you need to put a lot of attention. You need to be pretty focused on in which moment you start with your invincibility, because if the invincibility phase finishes on a moment where the cycle is gonna take effect, probably you can receive damage or you can die or something bad is gonna happen. Sometimes in the past I used it to mess up, and in some stages where there were some walls, just when the invincibility phase finished, I reached the walls on the point where the walls were gonna close, so they receive damage, and that's not good. But that's not something complicated to learn. I'm just sometimes I used to be a bit distracted sometimes when I do some stuff. So, like for example, there for some reason I forgot to jump at the correct moment, so I was so close to die. That was gonna be something really bad. It's one of the stages where you can waste a good amount of time if you die, obviously. Mostly if you don't have the invincibility phase. So while I go to Francinator stage 16, another stage with the same topic but without the water, and we have another good chance to make any announcements.
All right, sweet. Happy to. So those of you just joining in, welcome to Midfall Speedball 2020. If you are interested in this marathon and what we've been showing so far, please consider following MFSB Fest. In addition to our seasonal speedrun marathons, we occasionally interview runners in a podcast format as part of our Runner Spotlight series. Before I just want to mention some bid wars as well and goals that we have coming up. There is a bid war for the character name in the Outer Worlds, which you can input and give any character name for. It doesn't give a character limit, oddly enough. So I guess you could post the entire B movie script if you wanted. I don't think that's going to be valid, but we also have 2 incentives for Earthworm Jim HD. We have Play Advanced for Pete's Sake, currently sitting at $0 of $35, and the change the category to all bosses, also sitting at $0 of $35. Earthworm Jim HD is in a few runs' time, so if you are feeling like challenging the runner a little bit more with this, feel free to hit !donate in chat, or go to www.speedrun.com/MFSB2020/donate.
Now that I'm reacting to this, I suppose that when I was gonna do it myself, I was gonna meme in Japanese. And I have remembered that I was gonna do that right now, after 30 minutes in the run. Oh well, it's never late for memes. Like for example here, every time that I reach this section, I used to sing in Spanish, te lavaste la cara y el mono no, te lavaste la cara y el mono no. And the less you know, it's gonna be better. Good. That's the only thing I'm gonna be saying. The less you know
I have several friends who speak Spanish. I am very scared to show them this now.
Probably they're from Latin America, they can understand the reason behind I say that. I mean, I have been running this game for a good amount of time, for 3 years, and not so many people has wondering why I used to sing that on the section with the monkeys. And now it's time to go to Future Frenzy stage 19, and the first futuristic stage, and again we have just one mask on this stage, so we need to be a bit careful. The mess is later on the run. Here I'm gonna be moving a bit safe, well, not on this section. And I was on a bad spot, I was so close to lose the mask there. Because also trying to avoid those steam walls, and you need to be pretty precise, otherwise what is gonna happen is that if you don't move correctly, and you can get so close to it, and even if you see that you are not close to those walls, what is going to happen is that the game, you're going to trigger the hit boxes from them and you're going to lose the masks. And again, since this stage just have one mask, I need to be so careful on that. And also when I defeated Dingodile, I got a double jump, and now that okay, for some reason I got stuck there. And when I defeated Nefarious Trophy, I got what I got? Okay, the Tornado Spin, which just let me do an extended spin, and with that I can keep on the air a little bit. Probably later on the run you're gonna be watching that I'm using that, unless I have done that and I haven't put attention again, because I just have waken up and I have no idea about what am I doing right now. And I'm really surprised that I haven't forgot to keep speaking on English, because sometimes in the past okay, here I messed it up a little bit and I made a slight body slam and I have lost one mask, but it's totally fine because the next stage doesn't require masks. So the really important stages with the masks are 16, 19 and 20, so I don't feel so bad for losing the masks here. So I'm gonna go to stage 18, which is the backup stage from this section. And well, getting back to the topic, I'm not surprised. Well, I'm really amazed that I haven't forgot to keep speaking on English, because sometimes I will change my language. I will switch my language to Spanish randomly, because again, I need to wake up sometimes.
It's absolutely hard, and you're doing amazingly for commentating in a different language. Really, it's just always hard. I had to do it for a Taiwanese event, or tried to once, and trust me, it was hard.
Yes, speaking is hard, mostly when you try to speak in a different language that it's not your main one, and mostly a language that you're not used to talk with it so much. So sometimes if I mess up with the words, you will know the reason behind that.
You've been doing really well though, like fantastically.
Well, that's what you're thinking, you're trying to make me think about that. And I know it because all the time that happens. Plus, we need to at the factor that we are used that for different games, people have some commentators that can help them. Some runners have commentators that can help them during the runs, but since that's not my case, so we need to consider that first. I'm trying to do a commentary on a language which is not my main language, plus I need to run the game, and at the same time I need to be commentating everything related to it. Because I don't have people who can help me with commentary, so this just increases the difficult challenge. Well, the difficulty of the challenge of doing runs on a marathon, but guess what? It's really interesting, and I really like this because I understand and I respect that there are some people who cannot do commentary and run games at the same time. That's really understandable, and it's pretty valid that they prefer to have commentators that help them during their runs. That's 100% valid, and that's something really good at the same time. But also, I find really amazing when sometimes the runner doesn't have commentators and can run the game and do the commentary by themselves. There are some people that get surprised about that when I'm running these games, mostly when I am on Spanish marathons, well, Spanish-speaking marathons, which are, well, Spanish is my language. Because sometimes we see that people have commentators, and when they notice, like 30 or 40 minutes into the run, that there are no additional commentators, and the runner is the one who is doing commentary, they get surprised. They get in a mood like, "Hey, you're doing the commentary at the same time you're the guy that you're running the game," and I just reply to them, "Yeah, okay, I guess that I have that, yes, because I have been playing this and commentating this for I don't know how many minutes during the run, and this is good because." Making wave staging thing doesn't have so much things to mention. Just again, keep pressing X, and that's all the things that you need to do. There's something good with the game. Sometimes when you have some free time where you can just keep quiet while the announcer makes some announcements, or probably you can find some meme or / nonsense thing that you can mention during the run just to fill some time. But now that's not the case on Bye Bye Blimps, because here this is gonna be the last stage we're gonna be playing as Coco. So after this, we're gonna say goodbye to her. So on this stage, as the name suggests, we need to destroy these blimps. The good thing about this is that their hitbox is increased, so you shouldn't have any problem trying to destroy these blimps. But this is something really good about this stage. 7 blimps and we are done, we get the crystal. And also this is the last stage that I need to complete on this warp room. Something I need to mention here is that Insane Trilogy is pretty well known for being a bit difficult due to its physics and due to its game engine. But for some reason, this stage it's more easier on Insane Trilogy, because here on the PS1 version you need to keep moving your deep analog stick to move your aim, but you can keep your aim in a specific position on Insane Trilogy, so that's not a problem there. And sorry everybody, I have lied. This is the real stage where, well, the real last stage where you play as Coco, the engine boss fight, which I consider this as the real boss from the game, because of course this is really easy. So here we're gonna be having 2 sections. First, on this mecha that engine is gonna be riding, it's gonna be trying to destroy us and shooting some missiles, but since we are faster than him, we're gonna be able to destroy this driller. After this, we're gonna have this second phase where Pura is gonna come back and it's gonna help to us to increase the way that we can do our shootings. And we need to keep destroying these additional parts of the engine machine. So with this, we can defeat him. And when I defeat him, we're gonna be getting the fruit bazooka, which is not something used during the run, but I used to use it sometimes to be a bit safe, because it loses time when you use it. But again, since it's a marathon, sometimes it's better to go for safer strats, just to don't have any problems with the schedule, just to don't avoid that you can that you delay the marathon again. But sometimes some stuff can happen, stuff that you weren't wondering, so that's pretty normal also. It's pretty normal that sometimes some time during the marathon get lost.
Yeah, these sorts of incidents do happen, because technical difficulties are just always a thing.
Yeah, a lot of things can happen, but after being featured on different marathons, I have realized that it's better that the schedule gets delayed than it gets ahead.
Yeah, because you can sleep in more.
Yeah, yes, and sometimes you will. Well, yeah, because I didn't remember, but some time ago, on a marathon, the schedule were ahead for like 2 hours, and when I wake up, when I put my alarm to wake up 1 hour before my run, and when I noticed, I lost my run due to that. But the good thing is that I was able to reschedule my run later on the marathon, so that was good.
Honestly, from a marathon organizer perspective, having helped and volunteer for these things, it's not good to be either too far behind nor too far ahead. To be completely honest, you want to basically be on schedule the entire time. And it really varies depending upon, availability is always a shifting priority, and so it's always really important just to keep everyone's things in mind. But I think it is generally easier if you're ahead to spend time on intermissions and such than it is to, say, try to make up time by speeding up the intermissions.
Yes. And also another curious thing about what I have said, but before I say that, let's talk about Mad Bombers. This is a real pace killer in the game and probably the most hated stage from Crash 3. Talking about speedrunners. Because here the concept is similar to Bye Bye Blimps, but we play as Crash. And fun fact, we can play this stage as Coco on Insane Trilogy, but we cannot play Bye Bye Blimps as Crash on Insane Trilogy. And getting back to the game, we need to shoot to the motors of these planes. There are 2 of them, and the hitbox obviously is reduced. So trying to shoot to the sticks it's a really complicated task. Plus, Bye Bye Blimps, when the enemy shoots to you, it makes you 1% of damage, but on this stage they make you 4% of damage, so it's more harder for this. And at the same time, well, I'm surprised that I haven't got any problem trying to complete this, because sometimes I can mess up with the pattern that I need to follow to complete this stage, and I'm really surprised about what happened here. Or what I have done, so that's not so bad, I guess, for a marathon. And a box light, stage 25, also known as free mask stage, because this stage has 4 masks. And also, you will remember that on the 21st night of September, and also some minutes ago when I was on the 4th warp room, I have mentioned that after Future Frenzy stage 19, it wasn't gonna be important for me to keep the masks, because I was gonna lose them. Well, Bye Bye Blimps, Engine, and Mad Bombers quit you your masks. So usually some runners like myself prefer to start with Mad Bombers. Well, start the last warp with Mad Bombers. And there are some of them that they prefer to keep it as the last stage, and they go directly to the stage first. But I prefer to go to Mad Bombers first, again, because it's a pace killer stage, and I don't want to be on the moment where I'm having a good run. Well, for example, here I have catch a bad cycle. Usually when my invisibility pace finishes there, it took some time to the wall to close, so that means that also I am not gonna have a good cycle here, so I'm gonna wait a little bit, otherwise I should have been able to keep going straight. And just gone tomorrow, stage 21 is the last important stage with masks on this warp room. So again, masks really matters.
Do we have time for a donation, by the way?
Sure, go ahead.
Cool. We have a $35 donation from Bahamut X saying, "Good morning, everyone. I see the Earthworm Gym incentives don't have any donations yet. It's time to fix that." And in fact, with that, we've already upgraded the category to all bosses for Earthworm Gym HD. So there is only one more incentive left for that, which is play advanced for Pete's sake.
Okay, it's not supposed that I should have go to this stage, which is very impressive. I'm gonna be reserving that stage for later, because there's something really special that I need to mention there. Because here I needed to go to Gun Tomorrow, stage 21. And well, here, this is the Fruit Bazooka. I used to use it just to defeat a couple of enemies during the run, just to be a bit safe. And again, we just have one mask on the stage, which is this one. And as I have said that, well, since I have said that this is the last important stage with the masks, here, that doesn't mean that once the invisibility phase finishes, I'm gonna be able to lose all the masks. Obviously, I'm gonna try to keep all of them. Well, in this case, the 2 masks that I have to be a bit safe later on the run. And I'm gonna be explaining something really interesting there. But this is gonna be something we're gonna be talking about that on stage 23, which is gonna be the next stage I'm gonna be playing. And also, I like how this game is called in Japanese, because while in all the world this game is called Crash Bandicoot Warp, in Japan this was called Crash Bandicoot 3 Butobi Sekai Issue. I don't remember exactly the translation, but it's something related to dominate the world. I know that Sekai is world.
I'm just looking at the characters myself, because I do read kanji very well, because I'm a Chinese minor, but... Crash Bandicoot Warp, okay... Oh, there's no 3 in the US release. I didn't realize that until right now.
Yeah. Just in Europe, this was called Crash Bandicoot 3 Warp. On America, it's what's called Crash Bandicoot Warp. And what amazing luck you have with kanjis, because from the year that I have been studying Japanese, with luck, I just have learned the Senpai, Sensei, Gakuen, and Watashi kanjis. I cannot learn any other one.
In Mandarin, for instance, the weird thing about Mandarin is, for instance, the word watashi is actually su, which literally means private. It's not actually used in the same way. Ware, which is like us in Japanese, that is the character that's used for I in Mandarin. So.
And my mother wanted that I learn Mandarin, but I just told her, try to convince me, and she haven't been able to do that. But anyways, Japanese, Chinese, and Korean are fun languages to learn, and interesting ones also.
The world in a week, I think, that's what it's essentially saying. Or circumnavigation, the world around the world, basically.
Yeah, I don't know if I have to say that, but I was thinking something like that, and guess what is gonna happen once I quit the pause on the game.
Yeah, so that's the title, that's the subtitle for in the Japanese version, literally circumnavigation.
Yeah, I found that interesting, because I think that a second game has a correct translation from English to Japanese, which, well, the second game is Contract Strikes Back, but I never learned the Japanese name of Crash Bandicoot 2. And what I mentioned the Japanese stuff is because that's another interesting thing that I want to mention during this stage, which is feeling passion. So before I mention what I need to mention, on which classification I need to consider that this stream is, so I can know if we're on a PG or PG-13 stream, to see if I can say what I'm gonna say. It's not something really bad, but I just want to be aware before I mess up some stuff.
I would recommend going with more caution, to be honest, than anything.
Well, okay, if that's the case, we need to consider that the community, this stage is called Flaming, and, well, a 3-letter word that starts with a letter A. And the reason behind that is because this stage has no masks. You have seen.
Oh no! And it's one of the final stages of the run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why. Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
And also, I have called this stage as Backup Base Killer or Misplits. Well, at this point, we just need to complete the last stage from this warp room. The last stage that we haven't completed, which is Ranch Asphalt, stage 22. Fortunately, it's not a bad stage at all, because here, what is going to happen is that I just need to keep pressing the press button, and that's all the thing that I need to do. It's a longer stage, but it's slightly easier and less complicated than Road Crash, so it shouldn't be complicated for that. And after I complete this on first place, I should have achieved all the crystals. And here I messed it up a little bit, and I missed the turbo pad. And so if you were wondering, my PBs on this category is 51 minutes with 7 seconds. I achieved that PB last year, and since then I have been cursed because I haven't been able to get a new PB. Just to avoid to mention that I haven't grinded a lot of this game. But I promised myself that in January I'm gonna be back on this game. I have been practicing some new strats, so I really feel that I can get a sub 50 soon. As soon as I decide to play this game again. because I haven't felt so motivated for doing runs rather than participating in marathons. 2020 was a curious year because I think this has been the year that I have played mostly this game on marathons. And I don't know if I should be glad about that, because as I've said before, I don't like so much this game, but not to the point that I really hate it. Because I'm mostly a fan from Crash 2, but I have some reasons to don't play that game for now. So I'm gonna do that in the future. Oh well, here on Chessfeld again. Another multi-bike stage, nothing interesting to mention here. And after this, we're gonna be facing Neo Cortex, which is the last boss from the game. Well, this is the last section, where you need to keep on one wheel. Because for example, there's a pattern here to keep on one wheel and avoid sections, and that's something that's some of the things that I'm learning on this game, so... It's time to face Neo Cortex Onbuto Bisekai Shiu. And something good about this is that we have a little flashback from the first game, because on the first, we need to consider that Neo Cortex is gonna be doing something similar like on the first game when we face him. It's gonna be shooting us some laser beams. Well, some steam beams, and this is something new that was added on this game, that after some shootings he's gonna throw some mines. Unfortunately, our mines are RNG based, so we need to blast for a good RNG on these situations. And after he throws the mines, his shield's gonna be deactivated for a bit because his gun is gonna have some problems that he's gonna try to fix. So that's gonna be the moment where we need to perform a spin, and the middle of the stage is gonna be opened. And with that, we just make that he can go directly this. And also the masks are going to be fighting, so we need to be really careful with that. I was so close to miss the opportunity to hit Cortex. And well, as you have seen, the attacks are different on the first two, on the first two paces, and a third one also. But something good is going to be applied here, because the masks are going to go directly to the position where Crash is. So with the third attack, the third impact that they're going to be doing, I'm gonna be on a specific spot in order to make that they can destroy some of the mines that Neo Cortex is gonna throw, like in this case. And time is gonna finish once I skip the next text box on a little bit when I get speed boot shoes. And time.
Hey! I'm still waiting on my end on the stream, sorry for the actual time.
Yeah, don't worry. It was my mistake also, because I haven't mentioned this. And nobody told me that the sun was affecting my camera. Oh, well.
Yeah, it's a 54-56.
When does the timer started when I said go on when I played on new game, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I was running also my own timer on the background, and I got a 54:52. So I don't know if the timer on the marathon should be checked.
But it's within that sort of stuff. That's within time. We can
okay, in that case, we got a similar time to the real time, because as I've said before, we start there. The timing for this game starts when you get the control crash, but on marathons I used to go for an RTA timing. So this was like a 54:52, quitting the 5 seconds from the beginning. So it was good. I finished under estimate, which I'm pretty happy. So I guess it's time for some quick shoutouts. First of all, shoutouts to the Midwest Speed Fest for giving me the opportunity to be being featured here. It has been a long time since I was part of one of their events, mostly because I have been a bit busy. So I'm pretty happy for being back here and being able to perform a run on the marathon.
Really happy to have you.
Yeah, and also I need to make special shoutouts for the restream that this marathon are having in French, Mexi, and also for the Japanese read, arigato, for their amazing work at restreaming this marathon. And also a special shoutout for all the people who has been contributed with the marathon, sharing the stream, anywhere and donating money or giving bits or gifting subs, because when I was lurking to the stream on the midnight, well, on the early morning, when I was doing some homework, I noticed that I received a gifted sub, and I said, okay, so when I sub to this channel? Then I check, and I have received a sub. Oh well.
Yeah, there's some good rolls. Honestly, we get funny when people give subs, and it's just like, oh, they happen to be runners in the event.
Yes. Oh well. With this, and this is my short intermission, my short participation in this marathon has finished. But this doesn't mean that the fun stuff and the interesting things have finished yet, because we're still having a good amount of amazing runs to keep watching the marathon, and also we have a good amount of incentives for next run. So remember that if you're gonna be donating, check the amazing incentives that the marathon has for different runs. During the event. Well, unfortunately, this is the last day of the marathon, so we need to enjoy as much as we can this last day of the marathon with the next amazing runs. So, well, I was GhostSenpai. I really hope that you have enjoyed my run. If you want to learn this game, you can find a lot of guides on speedrun.com. Mostly talking about the routes and strats and all kind of things. And well, if you want to receive some help with the game, maybe I'm not the indicated person, but I can help as much as I can. I'm considering myself mostly a PS1 speedrunner, a classic PlayStation runner, classic PlayStation and modern Nintendo games runner. And one of my main franchises on speedrunning is Crash Bandicoot Warp. And I haven't finished Crash 4, I need to finish it running the game. And it's really interesting that I mentioned Crash Bandicoot 4 that was released on last month, but released in October, and it starts just after you complete this game at 105%. And just really quick, I forgot to mention that here I got the bad ending of the game, where Cortex says that he cannot believe that he was defeated again, that probably he needs to take a break on an island, and he needs to take some vacations, and then Uka Uka tells us that we haven't defeated them yet, because we need to get all the gems from relics in order to defeat them. So when you get all of those stuff and you face them, you get a real ending where a black hole destroys the time machine, and also Uka Uka and Neocortex disappear there. And after that, you can notice that, well, the game shows you that both of that Neocortex and Entropy thrown into babies, and that's the point where the new Crash game begins. So if somebody hasn't played the new game, I would recommend to do it. It's a pretty good platformer, and it has an excellent decent difficulty considering nowadays standard, so you should give a try to it. And well, with this, I was GhostSenpai. I really hope that everybody has enjoyed this run, and keep enjoying the